Hello. Oh, we are live. Hello. All right. How is everybody doing tonight? We're going to talk about the Idaho 4. We're going to talk about other things if you guys want to. But I have been deep into the Idaho 4 for the last, week. So probably going to talk a lot about that. The photos that were released, the documents that were released, the video that was released. Like, I'm baffled. So, I apologize for how I look. I look really bad, but it's been a day. Let me just say that. So, welcome in. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you are here with me tonight. I'm going to try to do some more lives because I really like talking with you guys, chatting with you guys. Like, this is a really good, like, back and forth that I can get on cases that I don't normally get. Usually it's me talking, and you guys talk in the comments and stuff too, and there's some really good, like, back and forth there. But it's really good to be able to sit down and actually talk to you guys. So I appreciate it. Hi, welcome in. Hello, everybody. I'm live on YouTube as well as TikTok. So I'm really glad to see you guys. So please drop in the chat if you've been following the new updates on the Idaho 4, because guys, I've been in lives all night last night, and a lot of today, where they had talked about Idaho 4 and really good conversation about some of the weirdness in the case. Like I said, I apologize for the way I look. It's been a really long day. So, sorry. But, like I said, I'm here, I'm ready to talk about it. It's a good distraction from the day. So, yeah. So, let's talk about it. Idaho 4. I want to make sure that. Okay. If you are joining me tonight, don't forget to follow if you like true crime. I post true crime content daily. And also share it out so that we can get it out to more people. I've just begun to do lives, so I'm not a great expert at it yet, but I do like having those conversations with you guys. So super excited. So let's start with the photo drop that we got, I believe yesterday or the day before, with all of the pictures from the Idaho 4 case. I have seen some of them. I've seen the ones that are most likely out there that everybody has seen. They are hard to look at. I didn't want to look at them. Hey, just dropping in. I just got home, just saying hi. Hi, Heather. How are you? I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you just for supporting. That means a lot. So they are extremely hard to see. And a lot of them aren't super graphic. They're just around the house and everything to show you, but it is just upsetting because we know what happened here, right? Like, this isn't a happy place. And so they are very hard to look at. They are very emotional to look at. Take your time. If you, the Idaho 4 case, they released photos, crime scene photos. And some of them are graphic. I will say that. I'm not going to post any. I didn't post any graphic photos. I did like a little slideshow today on my regular feed on TikTok. And the pictures that I did post, I made sure that there wasn't any thing in there that was super upsetting, because I know, like, I don't like coming across a video and it's like, super upsetting to me. So I want to make sure you guys are taking care of your mental health, your, how much you can handle, things like that. True crime is a rough spot to be in. And I've just kind of involved myself a lot in this case the last couple of days, and it is hard. It is hard. A lot of really, really rough things happened, and it's not a fun thing to talk about. I don't like having to talk about it, but I'm also interested in sharing and getting the right information out there. And with this case especially, there's a lot of misinformation. So with the Idaho 4, what happened was we got a documentary and then we got a Dateline episode. And this was before like a lot of like what happened and his pleading guilty and all of that. We got a Dateline drop. This Dateline drop was information that got leaked by someone close to the investigation. But a lot of that information we are seeing is wrong information. So I think what people pictured the Idaho 4 house to look like, I think when people pictured the crime scene, I think when people pictured just the overall case, they weren't picturing it right. And I can speak for myself on that. Like, I saw these photos. You okay, mamas? My dog was sneezing. I saw these photos and it was like, I completely pictured it a different way. Completely in my head, had everything that had happened different. I had the layout a little bit different. And I didn't picture the stuff in the house. Like, we got some walkthroughs of the house, like when it was empty, from like Zillow pictures, things like that. That's empty. And I don't think maybe a lot of people were picturing stuff in the house. I wasn't. I was just picturing a blank house. Hold on a second. You okay, mamas? Okay, baby. She's reverse sneezing, I think. Okay, mamas. It's good, girl. Yeah. Sorry. I want to make sure she was okay. Anyway, like I said, it was completely different than what I pictured. So if you do have a chance to look at you don't have to look at the upsetting pictures. I'm sure they will come up. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But just the layout of the house, it is like, someone commented here, it's a weird house. It was not what I pictured. I guess I just wasn't picturing the stuff. And I had this opinion formed that I knew what this was, and I based my theories on what I thought that was, and it was not. But back to the Dateline episode. So the Dateline episode released information that was incorrect. At least now we think. The thing with the Idaho 4 case was it was such a media explosion that people now are like trying to figure out what was right and what was wrong information. And they trusted something like Dateline, because Dateline is usually very factual. I mean, that's what I thought. I was going off of information from Dateline and had to go and like, hold on, let me rethink that. Let me rephrase that because that's not true. So we get this Dateline drop. The Dateline episode said that it is likely that Kohberger sat down in Xana's room and took off part of his whatever coverings he had on. That is false. At least I don't think we're going to know unless we hear from him what happened, but they believe that that was false information. Also, how the victim, Ethan Chapin, they were saying things about his legs that were not true. And I think false information got leaked to the family because the family were saying things. And when you look at these crime scene photos, there's off. There's things that are off. So I don't think that the family intended to put out like wrong misinformation. I think it was they got told something. And when you get told something about your loved one who had been in this horrific thing, you're going to go, you know? So I think a lot of misinformation is traveling right now around about this case. But that's kind of the name of the game. So if you've been living under a rock, let me give you a little bit of rundown of the case. So the Idaho 4 case is a house full of college students on the University of Idaho campus. It was an off-campus place, but it was owned by the university. And I think that's important that people know that it was owned by the university. And it's an apartment, basically, but it's a big house. So there's different rooms, and they had different roommates. This house, which is a strange layout, like I was saying, like someone commented, it's a very strange layout. It's a very weird place to be, but it's a college house, you know. So let's give the rundown of where everybody was. So there's 3 floors. Top floor was Kaylee and Madison's rooms. Kaylee was on if you're looking at the house, on the right side, and Maddie Mogan was on the left. Kaylee did have her dog. It is currently owned by the university. It originally belonged to a property company. Interesting. Okay. I just had heard that it was the university's property when it was torn down. So I don't know what happened there. But I don't know. It's here nor there, right? So what was I going to say? Okay, so Maddie and Kaylee are on the top floor. Kaylee did have her dog. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We were presumed in this that feature dog. My dog's fine. That Kaylee and Maddie were in the same bed. It was presumed that they were in the same bed, that Kaylee was not in her room because things were not in there. She didn't have a bed. She was moving out. Kaylee was getting ready to go and move. So it was presumed that there wasn't any furniture in there. I mean, at least by me. This is what, I'll take responsibility. This is what I had thought, right? When you look at the crime scene photos, Kaylee has a bed. She has a desk. Her dog is in there. It's plausible that Kaylee did fall asleep in that room. But somehow, now we're not entirely sure, she did end up with Maddie in Madison's room. So the 2 victims that are upstairs were in Maddie's room. When you go to the second floor, there is a kitchen in the back with a sliding glass door. This is where police assume Brian Kohberger entered the house. That sliding door was notoriously open. And so I don't know if he knew that. We don't know what he knew, what he didn't know, but that is where they say he entered. Right off of that, when you go straight, is a survivor of this, Dylan. And then there's the living room, and then you kind of turn a corner, and in the back is a bathroom right next to Xana's room. Now, Dylan is a survivor of this attack. She was in that room. She was completely unharmed. She did see the attacker. She opened up her door, saw the attacker, closed her door, and he did not go after her. Xana and Ethan were both victims of this, and they were unalived by Brian Koberger. Ethan on the bed, Xana on the floor. And we'll talk a little bit more about theories of what happened, who was first, all of that. We'll get into that, but I'm just giving you a rundown. Next to Xana's room is a flight of stairs. So there's 3 floors, right? The bottom floor is a entrance, the front door, and a room that another survivor was in, Bethany. Bethany was also unharmed. She didn't see anything. She heard some commotion. That's about all we know. Now, I have combed over some of the witness statements that there seems to be different takes on things, misremembering or, whatever you want to chalk that up to. But Bethany saw a flash and heard a noise. Dylan, in her first statements, says that she does not see the flash, but she hears the noise. And like I said, Dylan it's a long event of her opening up her door, checking to see what's going on, and closing the door. Opening the door, closing the door. Dylan, who saw this man walking out, decided she was going to call up her roommate. So she tries to call, I believe, Xana and maybe Maddie. Can't get a hold of anybody, so she decides to call and text Bethany. They are in communications. The texts are online. You can read them. She says there's a man. He had a thing covering his forehead and his mouth. Like part of his mouth is what she says. And then in this text exchange, Bethany says, "Come down to my room, run." And we believe Dylan came down the stairs. Bethany and Dylan stayed in that room the rest of the night. This event, we believe, happened around 4 in the morning, like I think 3, 4. So Bethany and Dylan stayed in Bethany's room the rest of the night and the rest of the morning around noonish. Now, I'm not going to give you quote dates or times because I don't have it right in front of me. I'm going all off of memory, but around noonish, Dylan and Bethany wake up and they're like, what are the events last night? What we thought we heard and saw. We need to maybe call somebody and have them walk through the house. They call some friends over. One of their friends' boyfriends goes up to check on Xana. Now, from this new documentary that I will explain in a second, Hunter says that he goes to check on Xana because they're not sure what happened with Xana. The noises were kind of coming from her room, so they believe something happened with Xana particularly. So Hunter goes in, checks on Xana. He rushes the girls out and says, call 911, there's an unconscious person. Shielding them from seeing and hearing, or seeing, I guess, the trauma that would be finding their friend. Because at this point he knows there's something wrong with Xana. I don't know if he checked on Ethan, to be honest with you. I think he just saw Xana. They head out. They call 911. The call logs are all online if you want to see them. And the police show up. They do not tell the roommates that they found 2 other people in the top floor. So they had to wait all day to even know until a college thing goes out that says that there were 4. And that's when they realize that it's Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. And that they were the 2 that were survivors. No. The process of this case has been a lot. There is 2 sides. There is the side that is very much Bryan Kohberger did it. And there's the side that there's more to the story. And if you're on one side, usually you're on one side and you stick to it, right? Me personally, how I handle this case and how I handle true crime in general is I will take all the information in. So I've been listening to creators on both sides. And then I form my opinion, because I don't think anyone is ever going to be 1,000% right, because we were not there. And as for me, I don't know about other true crime creators, but for me, I'm not a professional. I'm a chick on the internet that likes true crime, likes talking about true crime. I'm never going to be a professional, so that's what I form my basis on. And unlike some creators, I will admit when I'm wrong. I'm not one of those that's this is the way it is and that is it. But I do go by evidence, and if I see something that's fishy, I see something that's fishy. Now, for those of you who don't know how we found Kohberger, there was a sheath to his kitchen utensil found underneath Maddie/Kaylee on the bed. This sheath had a bit of touch DNA on it. Now, from what I've heard, and I've heard this off of a news site, but like I said, I thought Dateline was credible, and so take this with a grain of salt. But from what I've heard, it was a mix of about 4 or 5 people's DNA. One of them being Kohberger, one of them being Kaylee, one of them being Xana, one of them being Ethan, and one of them being Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. Now, she was there. He was there. That DNA could get there from sheets and from touching and all of that things. But I think it's interesting to note that it wasn't just his DNA. So, yeah. As far as other evidence, they do have his car on video surveillance going in and going out of the crime scene. If you would like to see that, that's on the internet somewhere. You can find all of these resources online. But they had him coming in and him leaving. This crime took like 15 minutes, and I'm probably exaggerating that. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I don't have my information with me. Yes, the Ohio Statesman sourced the full video. There you go. Yeah. Who else's DNA was there? As of what I've heard from a news source, and like I said, take it with a grain of salt, because I thought I thought Dateline was factual. But what I have read is the DNA was a mix of Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and Bryan Kohberger. Which all of those people, if you believe Kohberger was in the house, then all of those people could have gotten their DNA somehow mixed on there. Like DNA and touch DNA is it's mind blowing, the science behind touch DNA. Because if I go to a party and I touch you and I touch her and I touch him, and then I go home and I touch my laptop, your DNA could be there, because I touched you. So touch DNA is magical. It's crazy. It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. So let's see, where do I go now with the case? The full video of him going in and out of the neighborhood. Now we have the full video. We had just clips before. Now we have the whole video. It was recently released. I think, this stuff's been coming out, right? We got the documents, we got the full video of the car, and then we got these pictures. So let's see. The full video contains, it's a black and white video, which a lot of people have questioned that, of course, on whether it really is Kohberger's car, because it is a black and white video. Like I said, I'm going to give you all of the information. You can form your own opinion, but it is, the timeline matches up. But in this video, we also see a DoorDash driver who dropped off Xana's food. Now, Xana Kernogel was awake. She was probably the only one, they believe, that was awake. I have feelings that Kaylee may have been, but that's here nor there. But Xana was for sure awake, because she had gotten a DoorDash order minutes before this event happened, or they believe this event happened. So she was awake. We don't know if something got interrupted, all of that. So there is a video of the DoorDash driver who got lost trying to find the house, because it's a very confusing area. There's a Queen Road, there's a King Road. It's all mumble jumbled, right? But this DoorDash driver got lost. There's a clip in the video where she's walking with her flashlight. People also believe that could have been Bethany at that point, but it's 4:00 in the morning. That would go against her whole testimony. So here nor there, just giving you all of the facts. I'm one of those people, I'm going to give you both sides. You can form your opinion. So, guys, this is, follow me here, okay? So, you have the DoorDash driver, you have your suspect, minutes apart from each other. So Xana is believed to be awake. She got her order. Now, when I first took this case in and we first got information about this case, it seemed as if the working theory by the police, was that he did stuff, to Kaylee and Maddie, and possibly Xana interrupted. And that is why she was in the middle of the floor. She had all of these defensive wounds, over 50 defensive wounds. She fought, and she was awake, and she was knowledgeable that he was there. I don't believe Ethan was even awake. That's my personal opinion, because first of all, he didn't have the defensive wounds you would see. And he was just in bed. So it's likely that Ethan was asleep through the whole thing. And I think police kind of form that opinion as well. I think the discrepancies come with Kaylee and Maddie's situation, because now that I have seen the crime scene photos, I look at these as two separate things, even though they were one attack. Because Maddie and Kaylee's incident happened, and then Xana and Ethan's incident happens. And the way that I'm viewing that like that is because when you see these crime scene photos, the evidence is very contained. And I've heard experts say this as well, is we don't usually see